friends, today we are going to be cooking a meal for the holidays coming up here. It'll involve some wonderful flavors and textures and colors, and the first one will be the tenderloin roast. It's a filet de Boeuf rôti en Croûte, and that is the tenderloin that'll be wrapped in puff pastry. There'll be some cheese involved. There's going to be some herbs and some shallots and some finely chopped mushrooms, and the presentation is amazing when it goes on that table. Never mind the flavor, which is just phenomenal. And our side dish is pumpkin. Love pumpkin. It's good for you. And this is going to be cooked, roasted in the oven. Citrouilla Rôti Aux Herbes. And it's going to involve some rosemary, some butter, some brown sugar. And it'll be caramelized and wonderful looking in a beautiful dish. And the sights, the smells, the scents, everything, it's going to attack our senses in a wonderful way. So let's start cooking. Alright, now it's time to start working our Citrouilla Rôti Aux Herbes. And that's our roasted pumpkin. Now, what you want to do is butter one of these nice baking dishes. I like to do it the old-fashioned way. You can use the non-sticking for the vegetable oil in the can, that works fine. But I'll tell you, with a dish like this, you want to use butter. And use the real thing, if you can find the French butter. It does have a flavor and a consistency that can't be matched. It's the oven going off. Pretty musical, isn't it? I've got that set to 350 and we'll have that baking in no time. I just love that. We're just layering these nicely. This rosemary, we're going to insert them into the pumpkin like this. I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar over here. Some butter, you want to drizzle some butter on top. Let's add a little bit of salt here, as well as a little bit of pepper. Just a pinch. Alright, now I have two dishes over here that I made. We're going to cover them both up with oil and put them in the oven. Once again, it's 350 degrees. We'll put that in for about 35 minutes and then we'll uncover it and we'll see how it looks. Okay, I have my beautiful sirloin roast over here. And what we're going to do is prepare it so it can go inside the puff pastry. But there's usually a little bit of tough fiber sinew on top. You want to get a fillet knife or a nice thin knife like this, and then you can run your blade underneath it, and it comes off fairly easily like this. And it takes off a little fat as well. And it often just pulls off like this. You get a paper towel to hold it and just grip it off. Sometimes you have to cut the sides with a knife over here, like this. And it holds on until you get it completely off. And then you won't have any tough fibrous parts anymore. Alright, time to put the beef in the pan, and we want to put it on a hot pan and brown it all sides before we put it in the puff pastry and add the other flavors, which is going to be the cheese and salt and pepper. So let's just, it'll be 7-10 minutes before all sides will brown on this, and then we'll work on the rest of it. It's time to work on the puff pastry. What I'm going to do is brush a few layers on at a time. No need to do every individual layer when you're doing this recipe because the butter will be sufficient to do it about every 2 or 3 layers. Just make sure you use enough of it and everybody will be happy. Alright, the time has gone off. Let's take off the foil. It looks beautiful. And what we'll do is we'll let that cook for another about 15-20 minutes. Okay, all sides of the meat have browned. So it's time to take it out of the pan and let it rest. Just going to rest over there in this great dish over here. I'm going to make a sauce for these drippings. But as this rests, we're going to, in about 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to insert the cheese inside the cuts in the meat, and we'll wrap that with the phyllo dough. So the meat has rested enough, where now I can take some of this nice soft cheese, which is I'm using some Gruyere cheese as well as some triple cream cheese over here, and now it's ready to put inside the puff pastry. You just make a cut and you insert it, and it'll get inside and overflow as it cooks. So I already seasoned the meat. I put a little salt and pepper on it before I wrapped it with the initial layer of phyllo dough or puff pastry, and I'm going to put a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper over here. Now I'm going to prepare another few layers of phyllo dough to wrap it up very nicely. Okay, the next step is we're going to prepare the onions, shallots here, as well as the mushrooms I want to chop them up finely and then put them in a pan where we have the drippings. I'll deglaze the pan next, and then we'll add these mushrooms and shallots, and we'll brown them up a bit, and that will go on top of the first layer of the phyllo dough before we wrap it with the second, somewhat thinner layer. Okay, now we'll deglaze the pan with a little bit of French dry vermouth, shallots and mushrooms, and we'll let those saute in this wonderful sauce. We'll add a touch of salt and pepper. Okay, now I'm just going to spread some of this right on top, and once again we'll make it so that it just covers the very top of this roast over here, and then we'll put another layer of phyllo dough. It's time to put it in a roasting dish, but first we'll have to prepare it so that it doesn't stick by putting a little bit of oil. I have truffle oil. It's a bit extravagant. This is a holiday. I love to be a bit extravagant on the holidays. Beautiful, absolutely magnificent. Okay, let's put this out to cool, and we'll put in our roast. And our roast is going to go in at 320. And we'll put that in for about half an hour. Would you like to make this dish even more special? Let's do that. We're going to make a sauce with more of the shallots and also some of the mushrooms. I have oyster mushrooms, and I'll put those in first, and I'll also put in the shallots. And what I'll do is I'm going to cover that, and I'll put that on the stove for a good 20 minutes while it reduces into this wonderful sauce. And once again, we'll keep it covered. We'll check on it in about 7 minutes just to see how it's doing, stir it up a little bit, and then we're going to add a few extra little flavors on that. This will go on top of our roast. Oh boy, look at that. It looks golden and beautiful and smells wonderful. The roast is out of the oven. Let's put some of my mushrooms and onion mixture on here. That looks good. And we'll garnish it with a few things. I've got some pretty cool stuff. This here is pineapple sage. Has beautiful flowers, and we'll just put some of that around. Well, okay everybody, we do have our feast. It's ready to go. It smells and looks wonderful. And we'll start off with a Citrouilla Rôti Aux Herbes, and it's a roasted pumpkin with rosemary and brown sugar and butter. Wonderful combination. And Filet de Boeuf Rôti en Croûte, which is the tenderloin that has the crust, the puff pastry, as well as the mushrooms and the shallots, and we have the cheese inside, which will give it this other dimension of flavor. This makes it for a fantastic holiday meal. Please try it. I think you'll enjoy it. And to celebrate with this, I have a Chateau Latour Figac. It's a Saint-Emilion Grand Cru, and she's a beauty. We're going to enjoy this with these two fine dishes tonight. Try these dishes. I know you'll enjoy them. They're not that much work, but they do give a good return for what you put into it. You'll impress people with this dish over here because it looks glorious, especially as you're cutting it in the juices from the meat and the cheese inside. So everybody enjoy your holidays and enjoy cooking with your family and your friends, your loved ones, and bon appetit. Happy cooking, happy eating. Take care.